Okay, so here I am for a Boondoggle video. I'm in my car, so that's kind of awkward. But yeah, today I'm going to show you 10 more Boondoggles that I made. So I have some small ones kind of to start off. First I have this one, so you can look at the shape of the stitch on the bottom here. Here. It's kind of like a super brick almost, like a 3x1 wall, but with two more strands, like those two red strands inserted to make it into a pentagon kind of on either end. And so I did a combination of both straight portions with that stitch as well as this this part, which is, I think, I honestly, it was a while ago I made this one. I honestly don't exactly remember what it is I did to cause the stitch to have that this effect right here. I think it was just some sort of twisted crossing the strands. I think I just crossed the strands in some way. I believe the two pentagons on either side, I just did like a twisted pentagon stitch basically, and then like these four inner strands, I crossed them as if you were doing a normal twisted stitch. I think that's what created this effect, but I wish I remembered exactly. But anyway, so that's that one. Next I'm going to show this one. So at first glance this looks kind of like a corkscrew stitch, but as you can see, the blue and pink or orangish sections do have a little bit more going on there than just a corkscrew. And the reason for that is, here's what the stitch looks like. So it's kind of got a couple of extra loops on either side on the orange and the blue strands. So it's kind of hard to see, but right there, there's kind of an extra thingamabob on either side where the strand goes through. And so on some of these ones where I'm kind of doing less common stitches or stitches I invented or that I haven't seen very many people do, I don't do a finishing stitch so that I can show what it looks like. But anyway, so that doing that but twisting it creates this this pattern. So pretty cool, I think. It's a way to make a corkscrew that has a little bit more width to the actual screws that are going around. It's not the most even design, I guess, and I think that's mainly because of how the strands how the stitches kind of tend to separate. There you can see kind of exposed stitching. But anyway, okay, next I'm gonna do kind of three that are all kind of related to each other. Well, actually, that's not true. I'm gonna do this one first. So here is kind of a little bit of a larger project. So I start off with a 7. This is a 7x2 wall stitch. So the story, I guess, behind this is I thought out like my placement of strands at the beginning here so hard, and I wanted to, because I was planning on splitting, I had the whole thing planned out in my head what I was going to do, and I wanted it to be where when I split up into 3 sections, I wanted to not have these little bits of the other color poking through. And I thought that I had the strands laid out correctly to do that, but I actually didn't. What I actually would have had to do is had the salmon colored be on either side, and then in the middle here, and then the edges right here be the green and yellow and stuff. But anyway, once I realized it was kind of too late to change it, so as you can see, I've got this kind of curly Q effect going on here, and I've shown in a previous video a full version of this. This is kind of a more complex version. Oh, I just flipped the camera around. So yeah, so anyway, So it splits into 3 and then rejoins. And the way that this is done is through a combination of a pattern of 2 brick stitches and then 2 square stitches. So in other words, 2 2x1 stitches and then 2 1x1 stitches. And yeah, so that creates that pattern. I gotta talk a little faster. It's already been 5 minutes. Okay, so here next, because I'm learning so many new kind of types of stitches. This is on scubadoo.eu, the website. This is referred to as the Star of David stitch. So this was another first time experience for me. So this is a 6-stranded stitch that creates kind of like a hexagonal effect. But so that's that stitch that I made. And then here is actually when you twist that stitch. So this is kind of the same color arrangement as this, but just with different colors, where there's just 1 strand of each color folded in half to make 2 ends. And so when you do that and you twist it, the strands line up nicely and it looks like this. So I do really like just the even circularness of this twisted Star of David stitch. So I did do a finishing stitch here, but what that stitch would look like if I would have not done a finishing stitch is just like this. So yeah, I do want to do more combos with this twisted Star of David pattern for sure, because I just love, like I said, I just love the even barrel kind of design of it. Okay, next I'm going to show this one. So this one took a long time. So this is a 4x4 stitch, but as you can obviously see, it also says Boondoggle with an exclamation point at the end. So there are many names for these weaving plastic crafts, but my favorite is name for it, lanyards, gimp, Scooby-Doo. My favorite name is Boondoggle, and the reason for that is because firstly, because it was the name that I was initially introduced to this craft, not by the internet, but at a summer camp. I was told that it was called Boondoggle, so that's the most familiar name for me. Plus, I just think it's a long, funny word, and the definition, the origin of the word, it actually just means like something that's a waste of time or a completely useless, pointless activity to be doing is called a boondoggle. And so I think that's maybe a little harsh for this art form that I do, but I still do think it's funny that that's like the actual definition of the word. So, but there are instructions on scubadoo.eu, scubadoos.eu, that talk about how to switch the orientations of the colors for projects like this. So this right here, this one that spells out boondoggle, is not something to attempt on your first try at rearranging strands for sure. You can actually see at the beginning here, another kind of fun fact is I always wanted to spell out the word boondoggle, but I initially thought I was going to be able to do it with just a 3x3 stitch, as you can see here at the beginning. But after more sketching on graph paper and stuff for how each letter was going to look, I decided that it would be just so much easier to really make the letters the most defined and easy to read if I did a 4x4. So I was a little bit worried about not having enough length to spell the full word, because I had only cut the strands to a length thinking that it was going to be 3x3, but it did end up working out in the end, and I even had enough length left over at the end that I decided to add an exclamation point as well there. So anyway, this is probably one of my favorite boondoggles in my entire collection that I've ever made, to be honest, just because it spells the word boondoggle, which I think is awesome. Okay, I'll show this one next. So this is number 7. The last 3 all kind of fall into the same category, so I'll save them for last. But this is a large pentagonal stitch. So it's done with 2 colors, white, and then this triple color with the red, white, and black. And so here's what the stitch looks like. It's essentially 5 3x1 stitches, all connected together in a pentagon shape. So I guess you could call this like the Pentagon Scooby Tunnel, because as you can see, you You can look down it all the way like a big tunnel. And then I did just 4 stitches of that, and then I split it into 5 square stitches, each of that's 10 stitches long. And I did that a few times, and then I did some circle stitches, and then this right here in the very middle is not very long, but this is what the twisted version of that pentagon Scooby tunnel looks like. So again, with only 2 colors, but yeah, so that's this project. I do really like how this turned out. One kind of nitpicky thing that I did is with the 3-color GIMP, as you can see, each one is oriented in such a way that the black is on the inside and the red is on the outside. That was something that I was particular about. So that way there's as much red as possible visible on the exterior. And then it's kind of fun because if you look down the tunnel, which is kind of difficult to do with the camera, there's no red on the inside. Looking down the tunnel, there's like no red. It's hard to see with this key ring in the way, and that's because all the black sides of all the strands is what's facing inside. But okay, so oh, I was completely wrong. The last 3 actually do not all fall in the same category. Only 2 of them fall in the same category. Okay, so remember this one on the left here that I showed earlier? Okay, so this is a combination of the Star of David stitch, the 2x2 triangle stitch, and the normal classic hexagon stitch. So as you can see, I did, let's see, how many stitches did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just did 10. Or wait, no. Yeah, 10. So I just did 10 2x2 triangle stitches, 10 Star of David stitches, 10 hexagon, and then I just repeated that pattern. So this is 3 different stitches that all use 6 strands. That all are kind of symmetrical all the way around, unlike like a 2x1 wall would be like not really fit into this because it's not kind of symmetrical. I don't know how to describe it, like 3-way symmetrical. So anyway, so this is a combination of those 3 stitches. Again, these sections are 2x2 triangle. These ones are the Star of David, the 6-strand Star of David stitch, and then these ones are the classic normal hexagon stitch. Okay, so here's another interesting one. This is something that I don't think I've ever seen another boondoggler do on the internet. So this is a 9-strand super triangle stitch. So as you can see, since it's an odd number of strands, you're not able to just fold the strands in half and do a normal starting stitch. So that's why the starting stitch is exposed here. So you can see that's what the stitch looks like as you're doing it. So again, it's 9 strands. It's arranged in a triangle. And so I did that for a while here. So I started here, and then I did that for a while. And then I decided to experiment with some color switching stitches and some variations to make the color switch. So I did that. And it's a similar concept to this, but just different methods that you can use to switch the colors around within the interior. If you guys have questions about how to make any of these boondoggles, you can comment below, and I can respond with links to websites or other places that teach how to do it. Excuse me. All right, but anyway, so that's 9. So this is the 9th, is this 9-strand super triangle project. And then the last boondoggle I want to show today is this kind of thicker one. So this is one step further than that. This is a 12-strand super triangle. So it's if the smaller version is called a 2x2 triangle stitch, then this is what you would call a 4x4 triangle stitch. So, and since 12 is an even number, we can just fold the strands in half at the top, and then I made a hole like I often do in the top. I split the stitches apart to make a hole for a key ring, and then yeah, so I did, I think, 20 stitches of the straight version of the 4x4 triangle, the 12-strand triangle. And then this is, I did a lot of the twisted the twisted stitch. So this is what that looks like twisted. It's really cool. I don't think there's really a way to twist this one that has the odd number of strands, just because there's not an even number of strands to cross with each other. So I don't think there's really a way, at least not that I've figured out, to twist that one. But this one, that middle part is what looks like twisted. Then I did 20 more straight stitches, and then at the end I still had a lot of length on all the strands, and so I wove them all together into these butterfly stitches, which of course, if you know anything about butterfly, you know it curls when it's done. So if I were to spread this out, if I were to kind of set up my camera so I can use both hands, and then if I were to spread this out, this is kind of what that would look like. Let them spread out. But yeah, normally they just kind of like to hang out all curled up. So anyways, so yeah, so that's that project. So here's a view of all of those boondoggles that I just showed you. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you have questions about how to make any of these, just leave a comment and I will reply with a link slash an explanation about hopefully being able to help you to learn how to make more of these. Most, if not all of these, require knowledge about making boondoggles that are smaller and more simple before you can make these stitches. But yeah, I hope that you all take some inspiration from this, and see you later.